way, I wanted to group this transfer in together with the Perisic transfer that recently occurred, I think 3 or 4 days ago, and talk about both of them in moderate detail. Not too much detail, but moderate detail. And those two transfers, you can probably tell by the title, are Mickael Cuisance and of course Ivan Perisic. And there's a clear reason why I want to bring these, why I want to group these transfers together. First of all, I didn't get to speak about the Perisic transfer. I talked about the rumor, but not the transfer itself. And the Mickael Cuisance transfer basically happened within a day. The rumor was out like, I don't know, 1 p.m. my time, and then by the time it was 6 p.m., 7 p.m., the transfer had already been done. So the transfer was just done that quickly. But in terms of these two players, I feel like they actually symbolize something that is much more important than the players themselves in a way, and that is that we're switching away from the ideology of, let's get a smaller squad with variable players, with versatile players, players that can play centre back and left back, that can play on the wing and centrally. We're kind of switching away from that and actually going more in the direction of having back a squad depth, which is something that during the summer transfer window I wasn't so sure that we still followed the ideology, because there were rumours. I think actually not just rumours. I think it was Kovac that came out as well, or was it Rummenigge that came out as well? I think it was someone that came out. It might have been multiple people that came out and said this, and basically said that we'd much rather have 16, 17 players. Instead of having 20 players, in a squad. So we'd much rather have 16, 17 players that can play multiple positions, so at least they get to play regularly. And instead of having a bigger squad that is able to kind of slot in, and I thought that's not a good approach to have, especially not considering our injury record. Considering that if we have 3 players out, for example, if we have Coman out, who's very injury prone, if we have say Gnabry out, who if he gets injured might be a long injury too, then we wouldn't really have anyone that could really slot into there. We have alternatives, sure, but we'd be losing out 4 positions if we count for each player being covering 2 positions or more. So to me, that was not a really good strategy to have. But the Perisic and the Cuisance transfer have really kind of made me positive that we're back on trying to get a bigger squad depth, and that's very, very important. That's very, very key, because quite frankly, I feel like we need that, because we have very injury prone players. We have a squad that half the time, half the players are out for months and months for some reason. They'll get freak injuries that take them 6-7 months to get to get back, and I'm like, how does this keep happening every single season? But it does happen every single season, so we might as well plan for it. And it's always better to have a bigger squad than a smaller squad. Yes, you want to fill them with young, talented players. Cuisance is that. You also have Davies, who also is that. Renato Sanchez, who also is that. You have more players. You have Singh, who's also been very, very good. Our whole defense is pretty much composed of young players. So we have young players. We also have young, good players. Our wingers are young. They're also good. Midfielders, we have some young midfielders. So we have a nice balance. I don't think we need much more players. I think maybe like right now, if we buy one more player, one more player at most, one established player, someone that can actually jump into the team and help out immediately, then I feel like that's good enough, because then we'd have, give or take 14 players that are in their prime, with quotation marks, in their prime, and then we have about 4 or 5 players that are younger and that can just kind of slot in, get some match practice, but also have it also improve and also develop and also become better. And I feel like that's where Cuisance comes in, whereas the established player would be Ivan Perisic. So I feel like both just highlight the kind of attitude that we're having, which I'm very glad to have, because like I said, I don't know who it was. I think it might have been again, I think it was Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, either him or Kovac, who basically came out and said a few weeks ago, a few months ago, I think like a month ago, basically said we'd much rather have 13, 14 players that are happy than have 20 players that are all fighting for a spot. And to me, that just sounded off, because if players are fighting for a spot, they'll perform better. So I'm glad that we're kind of going back to that philosophy, that we're kind of going back to that ideology, and ultimately I think it's a very good one to have. The similar transfer window is not over though for us, so we'll see exactly what happens. Lomanowski has come out a few times since yesterday. He's like, oh, I think we're still going to do some things next week. So clearly he knows more than we know. So we'll see exactly what goes down, ladies and gentlemen. But that's just my thoughts though. I will see you all in the next one, everybody. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out and bye.